I'd like to welcome everybody to the Beard Owl Podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about two of the best things in the world, beer and Weird Al. I'm Lauren, and you know what? I'm having a beer that I've had a billion times on this show before, but I like it. It's a Voodoo Ranger Juice Force IPA. So now I'm going to stop talking about that part of the show, and we're going to exclusively talk about Weird Al for the rest of the time, because I am joined by friend of the show and also comedy musician in his own right, Mr. Insane Ian is here. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I am well. I hope that you are too, and everybody out there listening, I hope you're well as well.
Well as well. All is well. Well.
So many wells. I fell in a well once. Wait, no, that's different. Never mind. We're moving on.
Well. Yeah, so I'm very excited to have you here. You were here before on this show, and
I was.
Yes. I love repeat
Talking
offenders.
about Polka Party, I believe.
Yes, you were the kind soul that wanted to talk about Polka Party with me.
Because you had so many volunteers for that one.
You know, you'd think I would, but I didn't. It's funny. I love Polka Party.
I do too, obviously. That's why we spent all that time talking about it. But
Indeed. Yes. So you are here to do a very special job here because we're smack dab in the middle of this series celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Weird Al Yankovic in 3D album. And,
yes, and also this episode apparently is very seminal just in your episodes. I hear this is also the 200th episode of the Beard Owl podcast.
It just so happens to be, and I have literally no fanfare prepared whatsoever. I could have got a beer with like a cork in it and popped something, but I didn't even do that.
The champagne of beers.
I know. Oh, man, I should have just gotten a High Life.
But, you know, I think the episode itself is kind of a celebration because we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the album, and we are also celebrating the culmination of the first side of the album.
Yes.
So within itself, it is a celebration.
It is. I think, you know, and as a relatively recent appreciator of the fine art of listening to music on vinyl, I appreciate now the fanfare that goes along with flipping a record.
Absolutely.
You know? So I was gonna just go straight through this album, but then I thought to myself, I said to myself, if I were to like be listening to this 40 years ago, I would have to flip something. There would be a moment where I would reflect on what I heard just now before I move on to the other side of the album. And I said to myself, why not do that with this series as well? And who better to do that than Insane Ian?
Well, I appreciate that. I thank you for including me in something such as auspicious as this.
Indeed.
I actually did flip this album back in the day when this album came out. I had it on vinyl.
Oh.
And when we talk about side 2, I'll talk about something specific to side 2 that I experienced in my life having this vinyl. But this was one of the first records that I remember ever actually interacting with on a record player, and playing and listening to and flipping and taping it to a cassette because those were more convenient for the car.
Yeah.
But definitely this was an album that I had as a record album.
That's beautiful. And so I'm glad you're here for it. I'm glad you're here for this. Like that. And you look at, you've already given people something to look forward to come back for when you're back to talk about, do the same thing for side 2. So look at that. You're laying the groundwork. This is some foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing in a number of weeks. Yes.
Yes. Several. Yeah. But while we're here now, and before we jump into anything else, if people are listening to the show, odds are they know who you are. Just kind of as
entirely possible.
Entirely, it's entirely possible. It's probable, you know. But you know, tell the folks that are listening that may not or may do, but would like to hear it from you again anyway.
Sure.
What's up with you?
Okay, so, you know, there might be some people out there who may have skipped the Polka Party episode because maybe Polka Party is not their favorite album.
Boo.
But in case you did miss that album, yes, my name is Insane Ian. I am a comedy musician and comedy music fan. I do a lot of things associated with comedy music. Not only do I write and perform comedy music, I am also the only comedy musician to appear on all 3 Weird Al Yankovic fan tribute albums. It helps that I produced the second one myself. But of the 3, Prosthetic Lips, Me, Myself, and I, and 27 and a Half, I'm the only artist to appear on all 3 of those. Also, I am the chairperson of the Logan Whitehurst Memorial Awards for Excellence in Comedy Music. They are otherwise known as the Comedy Music Awards, the Logan Awards, and I am the chairperson of that. I organize that and assemble the jurors and everything for voting on comedy songs, so that helps push the reach of comedy music out further. I, of course, am a member of the Fump.com, the Funny Music Project, where we release 2 songs a week for free under a Creative Commons license and have been doing so since 2007. We are a coalition of comedy musicians, have about 150 artists on the site, and release 2 songs a week for free. I'm a member of that, releasing my music there, and of course also on my own YouTube channel at youtube.com/insaneian. I react specifically to comedy music. I do a comedy musician reaction and analysis show where I specifically talk about comedy music because that is where my field of expertise, heavy on the quote marks there, is. And that I do a lot of talking about comedy music, kind of the structure of how a comedy song works, and how the jokes work in with relation to the video itself. It's a whole thing. I talk a real lot. Sometimes I have a song called Shut Up Ian, and sometimes it's necessary to say that at me because I talk a lot. But within the Comedy Musician Reacts, on my Patreon, because my patrons get to see these videos early, I am doing, starting a month ago or month or 2 ago, I've been reacting specifically only on my Patreon to Weird Al Yankovic music videos.
Yes.
And I've been talking specifically about how a lot of the shot-for-shot remakes videos that Al has been doing, such as Eat It, which we'll talk about soon, Fat, coming up soon is going to be Smells Like Nirvana, just how close the Al version is to the original and where the jokes lie in those. And I talk about a lot of the making of the video and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and a lot of the intricate jokes that a lot of people seem to miss because these videos are so jam-packed with jokes. There's a lot of things that some people just don't catch until they have repeated viewings and stuff. And sometimes I'm there just to point things out. And that's kind of a more in-depth look at like the inner workings of things that is exclusively over at patreon.com/insaneian. Wow.
You're a busy guy.
I do a lot, yeah.
And as you were going through all of that, it got my brain to thinking, which is a scary thought because like the room's already starting to fill with smoke on account of my brain working so hard. But, when this album, the one we're talking about in 3D, came out 40 years ago, I don't think anybody would have thought that there would be half of the things that you talked about that you're doing, and I'm not even saying that in a bad way, it's absolutely not a bad way, right? It's that Weird Al came along and like accidentally kicked open a door for so much like awesome stuff. For somebody like you to be doing what you do and have the audience for the thing that you do and the things that you do, and for this whole community to be here and appreciate that, like, yes, there absolutely was a bunch of comedy novelty music before and a bunch of comedy novelty music after. But I would argue just kind of like this, we're talking about a very turning point, like album individual kind of thing here right
Absolutely.
now with Weird Al that changed the trajectory of comedy novelty music for the better.
It absolutely did. And I think that's kind of like one of like the huge things about this album is like the first album is very punk and very much in the vein of comedy music of the era up to it,
Mhm.
where it's like not a lot of artists are recreating a song exactly if they're parodying it. A
Mhm.
lot of the artists that you would hear on the Dr. Demento show that did parodies would do either weirdly orchestral arrangements like your Alan Shermans or your Tom Lehrer's. Even Tom Lehrer would himself just sometimes just do it just on piano, and other artists would do it just on guitar or what have you. And then when we moved into in 3D, we get so much change in production from between the first album and this album. And it has gone from being somebody recording in their bedroom or a punk band recording on a reel-to-reel to being a full band fully trying to almost cover the original song but then actually change the lyrics.
Yeah.
And a full band trying to realize the sound of a specific artist without being a direct parody of that specific artist. And I think, and also just even covering songs, but doing it in the style of a polka band. That is really the shift that comedy music, honestly, as far as to my knowledge, didn't really have as far as parody artists go. There are certainly comedy bands that were full bands that were doing full sound, but they weren't trying to emulate or do impressions of, basically musical impressions at least, of other artists.
Yeah.
And this really, I think, kicked that in the tail and kind of started this new era of comedy music sound.
I agree. Like, to quote a joke, parody joke from UHF, like, this is important, this means something. And because that's this whole album is important and does mean something and is the reason why we get all that we get. So we're kind of into the meat of the first half of this show, this episode here. And I do have some just kind of little factoids about the album, just to kind of put it in context, and just some, nuggets before we get into what we think really works about the first half of Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. So this was fun for me because the release date of this episode, for those listening, if you're listening to this on release date, you know that it is April 26th, 2024. And 2 days from now will be April 28th of 2024. And 40 years ago, from 2 days from now, is when this album reached its peak on the U.S. album charts. And it peaked at number 17. And so, like,
number 17,
yep.
an entry for the 17 list, which is the not nearly as popular list as the 27 list.
That's so funny. Yes. And, it only took it 2 months to get there, too, because it was released on February 28th. And so 2 months later, it reached number 17 and stayed there for 3 weeks, which is pretty cool for a comedy album in 1984.
Yeah.
Like, hello. Now, one of my other little factoids that just makes me chuckle about it, because, when you talk about Weird Al Yankovic in 3D, and I have a copy of it with the cellophane and a hype sticker on it, like hanging on my wall in this room. And the hype sticker is the Eat It hype sticker, right? And I also have a copy of the 7-inch of Eat It hanging on the wall in this room. It's funny. So I actually got that as a gift from an office Secret Santa, the Eat It 7-inch.
Amazing.
I'm like, okay, so they know who I am at work. That's cool. Anyhow, so Al apparently wanted Midnight Star to be the lead single to this album. Had you heard that before?
I feel like I've known that, and I also feel like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great song.
Yes.
But like, Beat It and Michael Jackson's album were the biggest thing in the world at that time. and being able to have Eat It be the single is like, obviously, I mean, if Al were to go back and change it, I don't think he would. For the longest time, he was known on Twitter. His bio just said,
The Eat
the
It
Eat It guy. So obviously, this was the thing that kicked everything in its butt to start, everyone's love and appreciation of Al and who he is and what he does. And to think how weird that course would have changed had Midnight Star been the first single instead.
Yeah. We'd be living in a completely different reality if that were allowed to happen. We wouldn't have half of what we have if that were allowed to happen.
I kind of wished that moment, I wish was emulated in Weird the Al Yankovic story, where he's trying to do this original song that's not a parody.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to do this original song, and then instead of Midnight Star, the original song is Eat It. To go along with how it is portrayed in the film.
Oh my gosh, that would have been really funny. I mean, because we all know that film was 100% fact.
Absolutely, 100% factual, and rest in peace, Al. And of course, all hail to the zombie overlord that is Al now.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing about that film is all the nuggets of truth that kind of push things and motivations forward in that.
Yeah.
And that would have been an interesting little nugget for the rest of the film.
I mean, who's to say? I mean, this is me conjecturing completely here now. And I mean, I did a whole episode with Eric Appel, and I probably should have asked him about this, but I didn't. But like maybe the whole like Eat It being an original song is that being the thing that broke him. Could that have been a nod to him wanting an original song to be the thing that broke him? Who knows?
That's a good question. You should absolutely send Eric this episode and ask him that.
I will. I'm going to. I will. I'm going to. Like, Eric Appel is going to be getting an email being, "Hey, there is a question
We've suddenly had a revelation.
Approximately 18 minutes into this episode, so please listen. We have a question for you. Answer us."
Yes, clearly. This is the most important thing.
I mean, I can't think of anything more pressing than this in this moment. I don't have a ton of other like hardcore facts about this other than I think that it's interesting the way that the recording schedule happened for this album, that the originals were all recorded during the first recording session for In 3D. Mm-hmm. So on side one, Midnight Star and Buy Me a Condo were recorded during the first recording session, and then the polka and the parodies were recorded 2 months later.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting thing to me, and I guess I can't even talk about this now because all of the points that I want to make have to do with side 2. So you know what? Also, I have a nugget now. Stay tuned for that. So blah.
You're welcome. I have a nugget of fact, but it's not about the album itself. It's about the single "Eat It."
Do it.
That was Al's first #1 single, just not in America.
Yeah.
It was in Australia.
Down under.
Australia, it hit #1.
Yes, I love that too. I love that. They loved him down there.
Absolutely. And also I love that "Eat It" became the name of a record, which was part of technically a 2-record release in Japan. They released basically 2 best of albums, but since there were only 2 albums, it just contained all the songs from the first 2 albums. But Eat It had an actual parody painting of Al dressed as Michael Jackson from the it's from the Thriller album cover.
Yes, it's from the Thriller.
He's got a fork, his pants are unbuckled, and he's got a fork with a hot dog on it.
Yep.
And he's kind of got the Michael Jackson Jerry curl kind of going on. But that album, Eat It, in Japan is just all the parodies from Weird Al Yankovic, and in 3D.
That's hilarious. I saw
And
that.
that is one of 2 records that were released. The second record that was released was called Life, Lief, and it parodies a magazine cover of Life magazine, and that is all of the original songs from Weird Al Yankovic and in 3D.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So if you didn't get Weird Al's first 2 albums, here's 2 albums you could pick up.
Yeah, other than picking up the first 2 albums.
Right. That's great. I love that. Yeah. I just the other day, as of the recording of this, somebody in the Close Personal Friends of Al Facebook group posted about that Eat It best of kind of thing. And
that's what reminded me.
Yes. And the mass confusion in the comments of people being like, what is this? And I love that. I love how like there's just so many weird things out there that just can throw people off the
I
trail.
actually have the Eat It 12-inch.
That's beautiful.
From Japan.
That's beautiful.
I have that one. I don't have the Life magazine one. I wish that I did. That one's a little harder to come by, but I do have the Japanese Eat It record.
I'll tell you something about Japanese pressings, man. We were in a record store like 2-ish months ago, I want to say, and it's a tiny little record store out in the beach area here in Jacksonville. And we walked in, and I'm kind of flipping through stuff, and there was a Japanese pressing of In 3D in this record store. And there was this like younger, like hipstery couple kind of flipping through the record stacks and things like that. And the woman running the record shop, they have a beautiful, like, beyond anybody's means, like audio system in this place. And they're like, yeah, pick a record, we'll like put it on. And I grabbed this Japanese pressing of In 3D, and I ran to this woman, and I was like, put this on, start side 2. And so like it opens with Mr. Popeil, and
of course
this hipstery couple, they started looking at each other and like, what the heck is this? Like, what are we hearing right now? And then I began my weird evangelism on these 2. And,
of course,
because they're hearing something from a guy they've heard of, obviously, like, because, who hasn't? But they hadn't heard that. And man, I'll tell you what, like, it sounded phenomenal too. Like, Japanese pressings are no joke. Like, they're very clean. And
right.
It blew their minds, and I was like, okay, like, please go home and do some Weird Al homework, my children, because like this is what you deserve. And so I think that I thought that was really cool. It was a very cool moment, like, for me, just to kind of. I totally I think somebody was like trying to play something else. I was like, no, Weird Al though, and so I made it happen.
Amazing.
Anyway,
amazing.
I think it's time to jump into the next segment of this program, which is the stuff that we think really works on side 1 of Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. So yeah. I will let you go first.
I think for me, one of the things that really works for this album is it's basically a very succinct time capsule for the era it was released in. I think it is quintessentially 80s. It is so, in the songs that it chooses to parody and the styles it chooses to pastiche and the subject matter of those songs is quintessentially early 80s, 100%. I mean, obviously it's going to be a product of its time, but because of that, listening to it 40 years later, it is very much focused in that time period.
Yes. Yeah. And you bring up that I could not agree with you more. First of all, I just need to lay that out there. And I think something similar, obviously, could be said about every Weird Al album after this, as it's very much a product of, right? But this did it. Like, this laid the groundwork for that. And this is not my point. This is not one of my things that I think work, but this is like my thesis of all of my points, and what you're saying falls under that, is that this is the perfect prototype of what a Weird Al album should be, right?
Oh yeah.
And that is one of the quintessential features of what a Weird Al album should be, is that it is a snapshot of the time where it happened. You can put a Weird Al album on and say, oh yes, this all makes sense. Like I brief sidebar, not huge. We listen to a lot of Casey Kasem American Top 40 countdowns in this house. There's an iHeart radio station, actually, it's free, that plays them 24/7 from the 70s and 80s. It flip-flops. It's delightful. And any 80s countdown that comes on, like, if I don't hear them say what year it's from, I wait until I hear a song that Al parodied, and I can tell you what year it was from.
Of course.
And so, like, he is my pop culture bookmark in a lot of ways. And I think that is part of a big reason why we haven't had a new Weird Al album in 10 years, right? Is because we don't have that, like, what's the word I want for it? Like, there's really not like that, like, monolith of pop culture anymore.
Right.
Right? You don't have that one thing that everybody globs onto. Like right now, today, as we speak, like everybody knows who Taylor Swift is, but we don't have that Taylor Swift earworm.
Yeah. The album just came out. I don't think we've even got an official first single from it yet. So knowing what that is going to be, you know, and also Al's already parodied Taylor, so you know.
but you know, but
I've parodied her twice, so
yes, you know, and that's the thing. But I think we're kind of getting to a point like where I don't know. I'm like not completely out of touch. Like I teach college, right? So like my students talk to me about things, but I don't know what's going on with music. You know, because there's not like that all pervasive thing. You know, it's a running joke in my house now where we'll watch Saturday Night Live and like we're lucky if we know who either the host or musical guest is at this point.
Right. Yeah, because of the internet and the way things work, pop culture is still kind of like, it's so broad and so everything, and there's so much of everything, so many movies, so many TV shows, so many musicians in so many different genres. It's hard to pinpoint anything that is huge, that's only huge for everybody, you know, instead of like huge for this group, you're huge for this group. So having, you know, because of the spans of the internet sending everything out to everywhere, we don't have quite as a narrow barometer for any of these types of things.
It's just crazy. Like it's been very interesting, especially, you know, doing a show about somebody who is so pop culture based, to see how pop culture has changed in exactly the way that you said. Like, it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And you know, the first point that I wanted to talk about this side of the album is, again, falling under the umbrella about how this is the perfect prototype for the side one of a Weird Al album, in that it starts with a good parody of a good hit song.
Yeah. That was actually going to be my second point too. So right on.
Beautiful. We're going to Venn diagram this ish right here. Yeah. You know, like this is going to be terrible for me as the host of a podcast about Weird Al. I have listened to the Weird Al self-titled debut album a bunch of times. I cannot off the top of my head tell you what the first song on it is.
Ricky.
It's Ricky. Okay, great. I had a complete brain fart about it.
So with the first album and this album, the big first single is the first song on the album.
Word.
And not every artist will start their album with their big first single.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, especially in the 80s era of albums, most people did. But as things moved on through the 90s, it's not something you saw as much.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I released several of my albums, and my big single from that album was buried a little deeper on the album because I wanted people to listen more to other stuff on the album before getting to the thing that they already knew. And Eat It was the thing that everybody knew, but at the time, that's the thing they were buying the album for. They
Yep.
were buying it to hear the thing that everybody knew. And, it's interesting to me as a musician how tastes change as far as making track listings for albums go. And starting your album off with that absolute banger of a song being the biggest song of Al's career at the time, it's only 2 albums, but still, having it be that huge behemoth of a hit, obviously is like we're setting a precedent for you. Yes, this album is going to be full of songs that sound like this. We are recreating how the original songs sound. It's not a lot of accordion on everything anymore like the first album was, where it's like Al playing accordion on every single track and it being so pervasive as like the stamp of Al. Al is known as the accordion guy. It's not going to be on every song, but we are going to end this side with full accordion.
Yeah.
But it is more of the, we have a really tight band who can really emulate the sound of these artists that we're parodying, as well as the sound of artists that we're doing style parodies or pastiches of. This is going to set the precedent how close this song sounds to the original, and that's how we're kicking it off.
Yeah, exactly. This is this is what we're doing now song. That's exactly
absolutely
what it is. Exactly what it is. And, I couldn't think of a better way for him to do it. This is like, you couldn't scream, "This is different from the first album," more loudly.
There is definitely a more slickness to the production, and I think that's part and parcel of having Rick Derringer be the producer of the first couple of albums.
Mm-hmm.
The first album is very kind of loose and punk and kind of raw in its production. And this one is a little bit slicker. This one's a little more contained. This one's a little more, we're going for a very particular tightness as far as the musicality is.
Mm-hmm.
And the first album did lay the groundwork for kind of the structure of a Weird Al album, where you have parody and then original and then parody and then original. And I don't think there's any album that kind of strays from that. You kind of count polkas on any of the polkas as technically an original or technically a parody. It switches sometimes on the albums depending on how things are laid out. But having this side end with that polka really is a great capper for the first side. We also get that taste of accordion, but it also goes back to my first point about it being a time capsule of the time, because you're getting this polka medley of all the most popular songs from that small chunk of time.
Yes.
You've got Devo, you've got and the thing is like some of these songs were a little older too. You got Deep Purple in there. You got Hey Jude by the Beatles. You got The Doors, but like this particular polka wasn't as much a time capsule as the later polkas are, but this one is kind of a everything up to this moment.
Yeah, and that's what's and that's, I love that. My second point is actually close side one with the freaking polka, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, and since the last episode of this series was about the polka, because that was the last episode, that was the last song on side one, so that was the last one we just did. What's interesting, talking about the time capsule thing, the fact that this is like a riff on the Stars on 45, which was still a big thing at the time when this was coming out. So the songs may not be of the time, but the idea of doing a medley of previous hits together like this is of the time.
Absolutely was.
And so that's very, very cool. And and as far as in my brain, before I even had too much context of what Stars on 45 was all about, I contextualized it this way. So this is coming from almost the mind of a child. Okay. It's not far from what you just said, actually, either. It's like my brain was like, oh, okay. So this is the first polka that he did. So he had to put everything from before that into this. And then he could just focus on what was happening then. He had to cover all of it first, though. Like, he had to go back in time with this one before he could do the rest of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of Stars on 45 essence in it, not just in title, but because of the particular songs that he selected for this
the
song.
Stars on
yes,
45 had their own
by
Beatles.
Devo. What's that?
The Stars on 45 like had their own dedicated Beatles impressionists.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, going with particular like 80s tracks that are popular, like, you know, you've got your Talking Heads, Burning Down the House, and you've got your Every Breath You Take from the Police, Should I Stay or Should I Go from the Clash. But then you have like classics like from earlier eras of rock with you know, My Generation from The Who and Hey Joe from Jimi Hendrix, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
That's hilarious.
And the brilliance of putting those classics and modern day songs, modern day as when the album came out, into a polka style is in of itself inherently hilarious.
It is. And I'm gonna tell you a little story real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Talking about that, because the one song in this polka that never made any sense to me at all was that Berlin song. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it was a hit.
Okay. I didn't know because I was not born when this album came out. I was born.
I'm old.
I was just born the year after. Okay. I was like, I'm not. This isn't like. So even if I was like, I wasn't going to be listening to this. You know, this wouldn't have been my first Weird Al album, regardless. Okay. So I wasn't in the cultural zeitgeist at this because I was not yet a cultural zygote. And
that was brilliant.
I was really
Bravo
proud of that.
Props to you for that.
Thank you. That just happened. Yeah.
That was brilliant. If you hadn't written that one before, that's bravo.
That was total improv, and I'm really proud of it. Anyway, so about a year ago, we went to see Culture Club, and Howard Jones and Berlin opened up for Culture Club. So there were Howard Jones opened for Berlin, who opened for Culture Club, right? Sure. I walked out of that concert, number one, deeply in love with Howard Jones. Like I had heard his songs before, but like I left that show being like, that's my other guy. Like Weird Al is a guy of mine as well. Howard Jones is a guy also that I am now like, I love Howard Jones. But then Berlin were doing their whole Berlin thing, and then they did that song. And I literally had the moment where I looked at my husband and I was like, this is the one from the polka. I don't think I've ever actually heard it before.
There's always at least one song in a polka that somehow misses me in my pop culture bubble.
Yeah.
I like to think that I know a decent amount of the songs that are on the radio. I listen to Top 40 radio only because of what I do myself as a comedy musician and do parodies of Top 40 songs. So I listen to Top 40 radio kind of knowing what the other popular songs of the era are. But there are still songs that, like, one or two songs that I'll be like, I don't actually know that one that is in this polka. And so I get that. I 100% get, like, there was just that moment. That's the one I missed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
totally missed that one. So we got to your first point, and your second point evolved from my first point, and my second point evolved from your second point. Because we are Devo.
Well, technically, your second point evolved from my third point.
Oh,
because mine evolved from your second point.
Right. So am I the only one with a point left?
I don't have a point left.
Okay, I do. My only point that I have left, which is I think we already touched on it anyway. I kind of love how this has just been like a goop of praise that has all just kind of made sense
Sure.
together, is I love the balance of parodies and originals. Like, it's the perfect balance.
Yes.
Because you had mentioned it, it goes parody, original, polka.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect. And I've said this on this show so many times. And when we get to the Dare to Be Stupid album next, which, by the way, people, I've decided I'm not doing anniversary stuff anymore. I'm just going to go through the albums in order from this point, doing this same format. Mine as well, right? This is where the polka should be. The polka should not close an album. I'm looking at you, Dare to Be Stupid. The polka should not be at the end. This is where it should be. Like, it's the perfect palate cleanser between what came before and what's about to come.
Between one side and the other.
This is where it should go. Very strong about this.
I agree and disagree with that.
Okay.
Because the reason for me that this is on the end of side A or side 1 is because you have a giant, bombastic, epic song to close side B.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with things like later albums, we'll say, that end with a really long song, your Biggest Balls of Twine in Minnesota, or your Albuquerques, or your Geniuses in France.
Yes.
Though, notice where I'm putting the plurals in those.
I love it.
Those are your giant epic songs. And if your album doesn't have a giant epic song like that, a longer song, a song that is beyond your normal song length, the polka will take that space because the polka medley tends to be the longest song on the album.
I hear that. And this is a conversation that is going to carry over to the Dare to Be Stupid album. But I raise you this. The last song doesn't necessarily have to be the longest song.
It doesn't have to be the longest song.
I would argue that weirdness of the song trumps length of the song. Like, I have no problem, because take a look at the first album, which again is not a prototype for anything, but I have no problem with Mr. Frump being the last song on that album because it's the weirdest. It
is also the shortest.
Sure.
And that again is going in the opposite extreme of comedy. You in comedy songs, a lot of preconceptions of song structure helps in play in writing comedy songs and performing them. And so, like, normal songs are between 2 and 3 minutes, sometimes 4 if you're pushing it. Anything outside of that realm tends to either be in one extreme or the other.
Sure.
So you can have an extremely long song, and that in and of itself is kind of part of the joke, or you can have an extremely short song, and that in of itself is part of the joke. And I think ending an album with either a really short or a really long song is a great capper for that type of idea. And for me, for this album, yes, ending not just ending on a weird, but ending on something epic. It's not just a length of song as for this album. The epicness of the final song on this album on side B, which we will talk about when we get to
side B.
The people who know the album know what the heck I'm talking about, but suffice it to say that song and its feeling that it gives, the vibes, as the kids say, the vibes that it gives as far as the bigness to the song, not necessarily length, but bigness as far as orchestration, instrumentation, production. That is the big album closer, and there needs to be sometimes a big album closer, kind of like this is the finality, this is the end of the album, we're going to end it on a bang, or we're going to subvert that expectation and end it on a 1.5-minute song about a guy in an iron lung.
Whimper. Yeah. I hear that. And this is clearly a complaint for me for the Dare to Be Stupid album series, but I needed to make it known that I love that side 1 of Weird Al Yankovic in 3D ends with a polka. So, insane in, unless you have any objections, I am going to kick this over to a little ad break, and we'll come out on the flip side and talk about anything we think doesn't work about this album, because I have clearly already started talking about things I don't think work on the next one.
Yes.
But
we're gonna focus on In 3D.
We're focusing on the first side of In 3D, and we're gonna do that, and also give it our ranking, side 1 on a scale of 1 to 27. So after these brief advertisements, we will be right back.
Hey there, I'm Dave, the host of Beer in Front. Sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. I'll talk about some old school beers that maybe you've forgotten about, some new beers that have the potential to be a classic. I'll also talk to various people around the beer world and get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front, and it's available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
Hey, I'm Pantsless Aaron from the BFYTW podcast, here with my buddy Stevie.
Hey, what's up?
And Augie.
Hey.
And we're here to, first of all, categorically deny the rumors going around that all we've been doing lately is copying other podcasts. This is categorically untrue, and we deny it completely. Having said that, please continue to enjoy the Beard Al podcast. But when you're done, please check out our new project, the Weird Ale podcast, where we pair an ale with a Weird Al song. Pretty sure that hasn't been done before.
And we're back.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to purchase and or listen to that product and or podcast.
I know all of those things above were fabulous. Please let me know how everything went that you bought, purchased, and or listened to.
Yes, good things.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this is where we kind of get to the womp, if any womp does exist, about this side of the album. And, you know, my husband could have been here to talk about this, but I'm kind of glad he's not, because I get to sort of steal the thing that would be his womp about this side of the album.
I kind of feel like your womp and my womp might be the same womp. And I've now said the word womp so many times, it's lost all meaning.
Womp.
Yes, which in itself is a womp. I go ahead. Let us know what yours is, because I think maybe mine might be the same thing.
They're going to be similar, I think, because we've talked so much about, you know, we've done some comparison between the In 3D album and its predecessor, the Weird Al's self-titled debut album, and how the production value has improved greatly. And, you know, as somebody listening to, like, side by side the song versus the song that it's parodying, Eat It, just the production value isn't what it could be. And I get that, like, you're going up against, you know, Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones and stuff, and that's a pretty tall order. But to open the album with that is something else. But then, like, Midnight Star, the production value on that is better than the production value on Eat It.
I don't know that I would agree with that, but I understand that. Where you're coming from on that.
Okay.
That is not my womp. That is, but I do appreciate that and understand that. Now, as far as that goes for me, I get, like I said, don't quite agree with that, because yes, playing the two songs back to back, they're not gonna sound quite the same. They are similar enough that we get the gist of what Al is trying to do with it. Obviously, the guitar solo is going to be completely different. And a lot of the, you know, instrumentation and production is going to be a little different, because you are Quincy Jones versus Rick Derringer on production here.
Quick sidebar on that. I will say, when we get to side 2, there's going to be some songs where you go, well, gosh darn it, they got that exactly right if you listen to them side by side.
Absolutely. And that is, you know, an amazing thing, and a tribute to not just the production team, but also Al's band in how great they are at recreating things. So I don't entirely agree with that, but I can see that perspective of it, because I do love Eat It, and I do think that it does stand up really well against the original. But again, it's David versus Goliath on that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, that's very true, and I get that too. And I think a lot of it has to do with how much you've heard one versus the other, and also like the audio equipment that you're listening to it on. In some cases, like
and sometimes the audio equipment that it was recorded on.
Yep,
so
true. There's so much to it. So yeah, like this is not a knock at all, because Eat It is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as mine goes, as far as things that don't quite work for me on this album, and this kind of goes back to when I listened to it then and when I'm listening to it now, but more so now. I talked about one of the things that worked for me is how it's kind of a time capsule of the period. You have Midnight Star, which talks about the tabloid culture, and you have Brady Bunch, which talks about the pervasiveness of television and a lot of the syndicated shows that were being on all the time. You have I Lost on Jeopardy, which is about the end of a game show era that kind of re-brought back that game show era and that specific game show itself. That song has been credited with reviving the interest in the public in Jeopardy. Buy Me a Condo is kind of pervasive of 80s culture. When I was a kid, I didn't quite get that song
Me either.
in itself, because I didn't know what a condo was. But at the same time, yes, somebody who's immigrating to America wants to have all the things that are kind of so well known as American. Wants to get the Izod shirt with the alligator on it, and all these things that are quintessentially American. So getting that as I got older, I understood it. But as Al himself has said in concert, it's the cultural appropriation portion of the album.
Yeah, I get that.
It is a style parody of Bob Marley, very specifically ingrained in the whole Buffalo Soldier kind of sound as far as pastiche goes. But he's also doing a Jamaican accent, which now is kind of problematic. But in the era it was made in, it was a little more widely accepted. Times changing in the way that they do. Al, like I said, has said when doing this song in concert, we're making a joke about Americans, not about Jamaicans. This is it's about American culture and how immigrants view that. So as a song, it works. As an accent, it makes me feel squiffy.
I understand that. And, and actually we touched on that exact point when we did the episode about that song. And that was my thing that didn't work about that song. But I had a slightly different take on it. In so far as like, it makes me sad that Al has to put that disclaimer on this song.
I understand that.
It makes
but
me,
again, I think that's more of the time itself that he's performing it in now versus when it was done then.
Well, even the time, like the joke still stands for me in that he's not making fun of, he's making fun of Americans, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the accent is. It is for me what it is. Like, that's just kind of part of the song, and it's part of the style of music that he's parodying. And I get that not everybody's gonna catch it in that way. I think what makes me sad about, and this plays into a lot of what you're saying too, is that it's a very nuanced joke. And if somebody's main takeaway of his nuanced joke is that the accent makes them uncomfortable, then I would say take another look at the song, because there are so many layers to how funny this is beyond that.
Sure. No, and I agree with that, but at the same time, if someone were to do this song now, if someone were to record this song now and it was a white person doing a ethnic accent that was not associated with white people, there is certain connotations to that some people do not look kindly on.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel like if you were to do this song today, you'd almost affect a accent of I don't know the area, but like near Russian and Croatia, have it be God, why can't I words? Ukrainian style accent, or someone that's more currently people who are immigrants here. So
yeah, it's just very interesting. Like, and I love this conversation. Like, there's no again, part of the time period of it, right, is if you think about the Police and Message in a Bottle, right? There's a reggae tinge to that song.
Well, there's a reggae tinge to everything Police does.
But specifically Message in a Bottle, vocally with Sting, he goes, "A year has passed since I wrote my note." Like, he does an accent without realizing that he's doing it.
So I worked in a music store for many years in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so I listened to a lot of different musical styles. I saw a lot of different music come into the store. There was a series of reggae tribute albums to the Police called Regatta Blanco. There were like 3 volumes of this, like 3 separate CDs of reggae bands covering Police songs. And the albums were called Regatta Blanco.
That's amazing. I think that's just kind of I think that's the cap on this conversation about that point. It's like, what are we going to do? Like, we've moved forward in time. And I think at the very least, I love that we're at a point where Al has decided that he can perform this song on like his ridiculously self-indulgent ill-advised vanity tours, even if he has to put a disclaimer on it for audiences.
But I think that also helps.
Yep.
What we just said also helps solve the issue of this song without putting a disclaimer on it. Just do it in the style of the Police.
There you go. That's fair. And I when he sings it now, he doesn't put an accent on it.
Yeah.
So
and he's also changing up the style on other songs.
Yeah. So I think if the accent is the problem, then he doesn't even need a disclaimer because he's just singing a reggae song. He's not even doing the accent anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, Al, we love you and we love that song.
Absolutely.
I love that song. Actually, when I went, so this is my segue into us putting a 1 to 27 rating on, unless you had another thing that you had a problem with.
No, that was it. That was
good.
It. Also, when I was a kid, I didn't know what throw away all me ganja meant.
Me either. No, none of us did. And actually, on the episode about that song, I read all about the etymology of the word condominium.
Well, nice.
So people should go back and listen to that because I love etymology. Anyway, in talking about that song on that episode, the ranking that I had in my head actually changed after the conversation and it went higher than I had initially thought.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool. Yeah, because that's nowhere near like my favorite Weird Al song, but I appreciated it more after having a nuanced conversation like that. And again, in another one like this, kind of about it. It's like there's something important about it, even if it's like a product of its time. It's still worth discussing and looking back on to understand how we can move forward from that kind of stuff. So,
but also the commentary itself makes from its time and to now.
Yeah,
there is still something like still universally funny about it because of what it's about at its heart.
Oh yeah.
Being somebody wanting that quintessential American ideal.
Oh, it's that's very true.
And at the time that became very consumer centric, but that really hasn't changed much.
No, it hasn't. Like that's just kind of what we are. What we consume has changed, but it hasn't changed much. My the majority of my team at work, because I work as a copywriter, but I work with a lot of graphic designers, and a lot of the designers that I work with are based out of Ukraine, and they get all my cultural references. I get none of theirs. But they get all of mine, which just speaks to how pervasive, like, what you know. So that's
that's the point of that song.
Yep, that hasn't changed in 40 years. So that's for better or worse, America. anyway, scale of 1 to 27. How successful is side 1 of Weird Al Yankovic in 3D? Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I think I'm going to go first.
Cool.
If you don't mind.
I don't.
As far as looking at it from a Hit Factory kind of, I recognize these songs are being parodied or that are being covered, as far as not just that, but what the jokes are that are on this side of the album. What funny things are being said about these particular topics or subject matter, what have you. What production does with these. I'm going to go pretty high, and I think I'm going to go with about a 24 or 25 with this one.
I like that.
Midnight Star is a fantastic song. I don't know if it has enough jokes per capita for being the second song on the album.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's where you knocked things off. Okay.
That's where, well, no, not just that, but also,
that's part of it.
Brady Bunch, the first half the second half of Brady Bunch is really where I love Brady Bunch, is where you can sing the theme song to the Brady Bunch to the tune of Safety Dance.
Yeah, that's the meat of Brady Bunch.
That is the thing that is brilliant in my mind. I love being able to sing lyrics from one song to the music of another. Al does that with Money for Nothing Beverly Hillbillies, which he did back in the day with Rolling Stones' Miss You and the Beverly Hillbillies theme song. I myself have done it with the theme song to Mr. Ed with Green Day's When I Come Around.
Ah, yes.
I also have done it by mashing the lyrics to Winona's Big Brown Beaver from Primus to Aerosmith's Walk This Way. So I love the idea of lyrics from one song going into the music of another song. The opening of that song is still good, but it is here's a lot of other things that are happening on TV right now.
Yeah, which set the stage for that trope to exist throughout the rest of his career.
Yes, the TV album is a lot of songs that say, here's a lot of TV shows in a song.
Yep.
Which works well in some songs and doesn't work as well in other songs. But this kind of like set the standard for that.
Sure.
And because of those two songs, it knocks it down a little bit for me. I still think they're great songs, but I do think that isn't as far as some of those jokes could be carried, or as funny as I would like them to be.
I totally get that. And I'm actually right there with you. 25 is where I landed on side 1 of Weird Al Yankovic in 3D as well. I don't disagree with anything that you said. I mean, I love Midnight Star. I get why it's in the second position, especially knowing that he wanted that to be the lead single. Like, Al loved Midnight Star, so he put it as far close to the front as he could have. But yeah, you know, I guess for me, part of the ranking of this lies in just, you know, hearing this album for the first time as a kid. There was a lot that I missed, you know?
Yeah.
And I love it now. It all makes sense to me now. But just kind of going with my gut, I'm like, this isn't perfect because there was so much I missed the first time going through it.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's not its fault. That's kind of my fault. So maybe I should
Oh,
take
no,
2
yeah.
points away from myself. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I was a kid when this album came out. I was 5 when this album came out.
Okay.
I don't think I listened to it until I was 6, but I was 5 when this album came out. And there's definitely a lot of lines in this that I did not understand. My mom was really nice and explained a lot of jokes to me. Didn't explain throw away all me ganja, but explained a lot of jokes to me. As far as like things with like the Midnight Star, I think Midnight Star is a great song, and obviously Al did too. That's why he wanted to put it so far ahead. If it were me, I would switch this song and Mr. Popeil.
Oh, interesting. I feel like let's table that conversation for when we talk about side 2, because there's a lot to unpack there. I feel that. I get that.
And I'm saying that now, and that's before I'm like looking at like side 2 and going, well, maybe.
So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Okay. And Ian, this has been insane.
Well, par for the course with my name.
I know you said some stuff at the beginning, but please let people know again here at the end where they can find you and all of the insane things that you do.
You can find me weekly on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/insaneian. If you want to get that stuff early, or any of my music early, or see those exclusive reactions that are only available on my Patreon, that is patreon.com/insaneian. Of course, you can get my music at insaneian.bandcamp.com, or available on any of the streaming sites. And of course, you can check out the other projects that I'm a part of, thefump.com, THEFUMP.com, or theloganawards.com, which is actually just loganawards.com, where you can find out about the Logan Whitehurst Memorial Awards for Excellence in Comedy Music.
Beautiful. I love it. And thank you for talking with me about some excellence in comedy music here.
Well, thank you for having me. I truly an honor once again to be here to talk with you about the more inner working detail stuff that I like to dig into as far as comedy albums go.
It's so fun, and you'll be back to close this album as well. So you get to listen to 5 great episodes of individual songs, and then Ian will be back.
I will.
Hooray.
And we'll do the same thing again, only with different songs.
It's going to be great, everybody. All right. So this has been the Beard Owl Podcast. Hope you enjoyed. And the next time you hear this show, we're going to be flipping it over, starting side 2 of Weird Al Yankovic in 3D, talking about Mr. Popeil with the fellas from the It Rocks podcast and radio show. And I think my husband Russ might be here too, but like, who knows? It might be too far of a walk from the living room. So anyway, we'll come at you again next time, people. Bye.
See ya.
Woo.
Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.